Okay, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well on this Monday morning. My name is Gail Hartfield, Senior Forecaster here at the National Weather Service in Raleigh, here with the routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina, covering today, Monday, Juneteenth, through next Sunday. Okay, we're going to start out with the current satellite image here. And if you're in eastern sections, you're probably still seeing a little bit of sunshine. But out west, we've got a line of showers and storms that are already moving into the Triad area and Charlotte and points in western sections. These clouds are going to linger for most of the week. Kind of a spoiler alert. We're going to see more clouds and sun throughout the week, and that's due to that low pressure system. I put that L there in far northwest Kentucky, and that is what's going to be our main weather maker here for the next several days as it drifts to the south and southeast and kind of keeps that unsettled weather over the southeastern Carolinas. So here's our look at the upcoming weather pattern for Central North Carolina. In short, yeah, wet week ahead. Periods of rain and storms are expected starting late today or early today if you are in the Triad region, lasting through at least Friday. We've got a couple of systems that are going to be impacting us. First off, that upper level low pressure system that showed earlier there over northwestern Kentucky, that will kind of drift toward the southeast and kind of wobble over Tennessee and northern Alabama, Georgia, in that area, just to our west and west southwest over the next several days, at least through Friday. And during the same time, we'll have a surface cold front there you see in the graphics will be lifting northward into the Carolinas and kind of wavering over the Carolinas for the next few days. So that's just going to keep us in this warm flow pattern of moisture coming off of the Gulf and the Atlantic. As we get into the weekend, we're going to start seeing a little bit lower chances of showers and storms next weekend as that upper level low kind of weakens and then lifts up into the north, into the Great Lakes. But scattered showers and storms will still be possible as we head into next weekend. So a little preview of that. Here is our severe thunderstorm potential outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. As you can see today, we are monitoring some storms, again, moving into areas around I-77 eastward into the far western portions of the Piedmont. So far, you know, we're keeping an eye on them. So far, none of them have been severe, but we've got a lot of lightning with it, really quite a bit, especially coming up toward Lexington and into Winston-Salem. We've got a pretty big area of lightning storms with a lot of lightning coming in there. So it's worth reminding that even though a storm may not be technically severe by our standards with damaging wind, large hail, the lightning can still be a major weather killer. So something to watch out for. Lightning can occur with any storm, does not have to be severe. But we are looking at that marginal risk of severe storms in the western sections today and back toward the mountains. And primary risk of that will be damaging wind gusts of 60 miles an hour or greater. As we get into the next couple of days beyond today, no severe weather is expected, just isolated storms. But again, lightning is certainly possible and occurs with any thunderstorm. It's the definition of a thunderstorm. So be on the lookout for that over the next few days if you have any outdoor activities. Okay, here's our, and really mentioned earlier, the big story is going to be the rainfall over the next few days. We've been in a rather dry pattern for the last couple of weeks, even up to a month. And we're seeing the scales tipping a little bit toward a little bit wetter pattern here with that upper level low coming in. So that's going to bring fairly good moderate rainfall about every day somewhere in the area. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where the heaviest rain is going to fall. It's looking like the mountain areas and the foothills and areas along those eastern slopes where they're going to have the confluence of Atlantic moisture, Gulf moisture, all kind of riding up and over the mountains, and that kind of prompts some heavy rainfall in areas over the western part of the state. But anywhere we could see some heavy rainfall and even even with that, you're going to have large areas of a couple inches, a few inches possible, even likely over the next few days. So it may not all fall all at once, but over several days of soaking rain, that's going to kind of lead to could lead to some problems, especially in urban and poor drainage areas. So you can see there in the bottom right corner, our 5-day precipitation total. We're looking at most of the area is going to get that red and orange color. So you're looking at 3 to 6 inches and maybe 7 inches or more as we get west of the triad. So definitely in that higher terrain too, that's worth watching out for. So if your travels take you into the higher terrain out west, definitely something to consider, because that can be quite problematic with the heavy rainfall. With earth slides and washed out roads sometimes. So definitely worth keeping an eye out on that. Okay, here's the official excessive rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see there what they call a slight risk, which is at least a 15% chance of excessive rainfall leading to rapid onset flooding. And that slight risk area expands over the entire area by Wednesday. So, whereas we term it a slight risk on its own doesn't seem that bad, but you're talking about a level kind of in the mid-range of threat category. So there's pretty high confidence that we're going to have soaking rain and several inches of it possible. And as I mentioned, the recent dry conditions are going to help limit that flooding threat a little bit. The soil needs the water, so that's actually not a bad thing. But multiple rounds of this rainfall could result in that localized flooding, especially in urban and poor drainage areas. And we're going to keep an eye on our rivers and streams, because those will probably all be running high by later in the week across the area. Here's our latest drought monitor with the 7-day rainfall forecast. Again, that's the one you saw earlier there, showing several inches of rain possible over the next few days. At the top right there is our latest, and we'll have a new one later this week, but that's the latest one we've got for the drought monitor. You can see some areas of abnormally dry conditions over our southern and eastern sections. In the chart you see there, it might be a little hard to interpret, but it's basically a summary of rainfall departures from normal at our 3 climate sites. So it shows that they've been quite dry in the last month. For example, at the Raleigh-Durham airport in the last 30 days, we're running just 21% of our normal rainfall, so quite dry. But as you get back into looking back at twice that, you look at 180 days, looking back into last December, and we're running 96% of normal. So we were doing pretty well for a while. In the last month or more, it's been pretty dry. And you can see there the last 2 weeks, we've only got 4% of our normal rainfall over the 2-week period. So we definitely could use this rain, but we hope it doesn't all come at once. That would be nice to not have that. Okay, and hot off the presses, we have newly formed Tropical Depression 3 has just been identified and is being looked at by the fine folks at the National Hurricane Center. I see that graphic has been updated there. We do have a system, another system just to the east of that, of TD3, that they're also watching. Yeah, the TD3 is forecast to become a hurricane, and it is expected to impact portions of the Leeward Islands. So something definitely worth watching out for those folks as we get into midweek. Anybody with interest in the islands should start taking precautions now, and for sure by Wednesday, preparations should probably be in order in some portion. Again, that cone you see it's not showing the storm increasing with size. It basically shows the error. So as we get further out in time, the error of where the center might be gets bigger. So it's basically showing anywhere in that range. Where bounded by that cone is where the center could reasonably be. And again, sometimes the center moves outside of the cone. It does happen. That's just the most likely range of where the center will go. So always worth keeping in mind as we get into the heart of a tropical season that what that cone actually means. So anywhere in and near that cone, that's where the center of the storm could pass. So definitely keep watching out for. If you have any interests in the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, certainly worth keeping an eye out for. But nothing is going to impact North Carolina in the next few days. So we're keeping our eye on it, but no immediate threat for us. And here's the 8 to 10 day outlook, courtesy of the Climate Prediction Center. And we keep on keeping on with the slightly below normal temperatures there and above normal rainfall. Like we're going to expect this week. This pattern should roughly continue into next week, where we'll be a little bit wetter than usual, a little bit cooler than usual with all the clouds. Probably will be just as humid, but with all the clouds usually tends to hold temperatures down some. So you see our normals there are getting toward some of the hottest of the year, which we expect in July and August, but right now we're looking at our normal highs in the upper 80s and low 90s for that time period. Okay, again, the weather summary, we've got a wet week ahead, periods of rain and storm, so good idea to review safety rules and remember to turn around, don't drown, and if you see a flooded roadway, don't try to drive through it. Everyone tries to drive through it, and you just shouldn't. That's how we get so many fatalities, so keep an eye out, and you know, if you see a flooded roadway, find another route. We do have that upper level low pressure system and cold front, surface front that will both be responsible for all this wet weather for this week. And that pattern will kind of stay through the next several days. Again, looking next weekend, it looks like slightly lower chances of shower storms, won't be maybe quite as widespread, but still looking at scattered to numerous showers and storms still next weekend. And you can see the forecast there across the bottom. So we're looking at days of showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. So it's going to be pretty crazy. Hope you like gray skies. High hazards and impacts, again, marginal risk for severe storms across the west today. Don't want to downplay that. Definitely something we are looking out for. And we've got folks looking at the radar right now, keeping an eye on that. And finally, the moderate to heavy rain is possible through at least Friday. And, you know, the recent dry conditions, again, will help limit widespread flooding. We're not immediately considering a flash flood watch. We're certainly will continue to consider it in future forecasts. But right now, it looks like multiple rounds of rainfall could produce just localized flooding in our area. So thank you very much for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your week.